again and welcome to Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds with a particular focus on the exhibition style budgerigar. Well, firstly, I say weekly. I must apologise for those of you that were waiting for the last episode to be released on the Saturday. I normally try to get the videos out first thing on a Saturday morning. Unfortunately, I clicked on the wrong button, or not the wrong button, but the wrong date on the schedule release in the YouTube thing, and I clicked on the Sunday rather than the Saturday, and by the time I'd realised that I had done that, which was of course Saturday morning, I was already away and so not around to be able to make the changes. So sorry about that. Video came out on the Sunday, so I do hope not too many of you missed that, and hopefully this one will be out on the Saturday. So if you don't want to miss it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course do hit the bell icon if you want early notifications. And as always, you know, we'll look to try and hit the 30 like button, so do give us a big thumbs up on the like if you enjoy the video. So what have we got in store for you in this particular episode? Well, it's a breeding update. So what I plan to do is, firstly, we'll talk about the cages that have finished, that have literally just finished, and we will get the youngsters out, and we'll have a quick look at the youngsters that we are moving from the breeding cages into the nursery flight, or the nursery cage. We'll then take a look at the two pairs that are still, you know, just starting to breed, or rather one pair that's just starting to breed and one pair that's being a real pain. And then finally we'll move on to and have a look at a couple of new pairs that are going into the empty cages. Before I do that, I did have a question about the last episode. Somebody asked around on the pack it says you can mix all the bottles together, so you can put them all in the same drinking water. You don't have to administer them separately, and asked what I would do. Do I do that, or would I recommend that? So me personally, and this is just me, as I always say, just what I do in my shed, me personally, I don't try to mix too many together, and I certainly wouldn't do that if it's a new product for the bird, or for the birds. So if I'm starting with something new, I certainly wouldn't put them all into the drinking water together, because you know, there is a risk that the birds will taste it in the water, notice it's different, and may not drink as well. So if you're starting with something new, I would only put that one into the water, just so there's not such a sudden change. Hope that makes sense. Just so there's not a sudden change to their normal drinking water. But you know, you can mix them all together. I have done in the past with other products where it said you can add more than one or two together. I have done that once the birds are used to that particular product. There we go. So that was a question that came in from the last episode around the supplements that we spoke about. As always, if you've got any more questions or any comments on the video, don't forget to place them in the comment section below. Right, breeding pairs then. Okay, we'll begin with cage one, the cage that's behind me. This was the dominant pied cockbird that was an outcross bird, and you may remember had a reasonable first round. Second round, there were two birds in this. The first one I'll show you now, and that is another dominant pied. It's a dark green dominant pied, unlike its father, which is a light green dominant pied. I'm not sure it's as good as you may. If you remember the first round, there was an older, obviously first round sibling, another dominant pied looking bird, and I don't think this is quite as good as that one, but it looks all right. Whether or not it will be a keeper, I'm unsure of yet. To me, it's just lacking a little bit on the top of the head, but we'll see how it develops anyway. So that bird, so this particular bird, this first dominant pied youngster, is fully weaned and has been perching for well over a week now actually, so and feeding itself for well over a week now. So that will be moved into the nursery cage. The second chick from this pair that is also now fully weaned won't go into the nursery flight, and because this is the bird, you may remember, that had splayed legs, and it never recovered from that. It's feeding itself, it's managing to find the water okay and drinking okay, but it can't perch, and if I put it in the nursery flight, I have absolutely no doubt the other birds are going to pick on it and it will just get stressed in there. So my plan is to find another cage for this youngster to go into until it's a bit bigger and is finding its feet. It never will quite find its feet, but until it's a bit bigger and it's able to get around and manoeuvre a bit easier than it currently is, and then we may put it straight into the sales old bird non-keeper flight, I suppose. It won't be sold. It will just sit in there or live in there, spend its time out in there until it reaches old age and passes away naturally. So I know some people would say, you know, euthanize it, but we're all different. We all treat our sheds slightly differently. So for me, I wouldn't do that, or unless it was absolutely necessary. So there we go. That is cage one. The cockbird, the hen is already out and back. In fact, she's in a resting cage and will be moved to the main flight very shortly. Cockbird will be moved probably within the next couple of days from here into the main flight as well, and that will free up another cage. Okay, so the other pair that we had youngsters that we're about to move into the nursery flight is the pair in cage 2. So let's take a quick look at how those developed. So moving on then to cage number 2, this is the Lutino, and you may remember in the first round we had a couple of birds that they didn't look particularly of any particular use. Nice pets, but I'm not sure. I wasn't convinced I would be keeping them, other than the fact that they are split for Lutino. That might be the only saving grace for them in terms of them remaining in the shed. In the second round, those of you that have watched the last, I think the episode before last, we had 4 youngsters in there that had jumped the box. Unfortunately, the youngest one, and I don't know whether it's this particular pair, something about this particular pair, but the youngest one was doing really well, and I came in and was doing my normal stuff with the feeding and all that sort of thing, and the youngest one was calling. Adult was down there, so the cockbird was down there feeding the youngest one. All fine, carried on. About I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, looked in the cage and it was dead on the floor. Really don't understand it. It was very strange. No sign of injury, nothing. It just, I don't know. It clearly just didn't want to live for some completely unknown reason, or that's what it felt like anyway. Right, well, that's the bad news out the way. The good news is the final 3 have all been perching, all feeding themselves, and all doing relatively well. I've now taken those away, and those are in the nursery flight. I'll talk very briefly about them now. So the first one is is actually a Lutino, so it's going to be a hen. Explained that in a number of videos ago. So a Lutino hen bird. You can see it here. Not a particularly big bird, but although there is something about the feather on it that I can't make up my mind whether I like it or not. It seems to be quite a dense, thick feather on it, although particularly on the body, but lacks a head and all the rest of that sort of stuff. A fairly typical Lutino, I would guess. Very difficult to get them to progress into decent show birds. Always a problem, and you know, those people that do it really, really well, big congratulations to them. I will keep this bird either way, because it offers me the opportunity to start trying to breed some lutinos, and perhaps some decent looking lutinos, if I get a chance. Not my favourite of the colours, but it is a challenge and a new challenge for me in the shed. So that's the lutino. The next one is a normal light green, and this particular bird, a bit like the first round, it doesn't look like it's going to be a great bird. However, it has a certain amount of length to it, so it's lacking in bulk, it's lacking in size, but it does have some length to it. So I might want to see how this one develops, and as it's split, I may just keep this one. I don't know. So that's a normal light green that you can see again. You know, the pictures of it here. It just looks like a sort of oversized pet bird to me. Anyway, that's that one spoken about, but it is still very young, you know. Yeah, so it still does have some growing to do. And the final one is the very colourful one, and that is a Yellowface opaline sky blue. And it's funny, when it's in the cage, sometimes when the light catches it, it looks like a normal sky blue, or rather a normal opaline sky blue rather than a yellow face. But it's definitely a Yellowface opaline sky blue. And again, this looks like it's going to be quite a longish bird. So and it's a very pretty looking bird, I must say. So if I do decide to get rid of it, I've no doubt I can find somebody who would want this one as a pet. Either way, but again, it looks like it's going to be quite a long bird. It has a little bit of style about it, but just lacks that show. You know, it's got no show quality whatsoever. Again, the only saving grace may well be that the fact that it is split for Ino, so it might be worth keeping just so that we've got a few split Ino birds that I would want to put back to try and breed some more of the lutinos and the albino birds. So those are the birds from there. The only thing I would say about those last two birds, this particular Yellowface and the light green that we looked at a bit earlier, is that they do look a little bit better than their siblings, the first two that we got off this particular pairing. So if I'm going to keep any of them, it's probably going to be these second two birds, but we'll wait and see when we do our full look at all of the youngsters, when we do our final assessment. So for this cage then, again, and I didn't mention it with the pied, but both this bird and the pied will probably get a rest for probably about a month, just over a month perhaps, in the flight, and then we will look to find them new partners and get them back into the breeding cage. The pied because he has produced some quite nice birds, and this one because I wouldn't mind getting some half brothers and sisters in terms of the Lutino Ino experiment, I suppose we can call it, the Lutino Lutino and albino experiment that we've got in the shed. So that's my plan for those two cages. Those two cages will be free up, ready for new pairs after they've been cleaned and disinfected and all that. So what about the pairs that we've currently got down? There are two, one in cage 3, and there's another pair in cage number 6. Let's take a look at those two pairs and see how they're getting on. So we'll now talk a little bit about the final two pairs that we've got down, or I say final, so the two pairs that we've still got down, and how they're getting on. And they're both in the cages behind me, so one pair is in cage 3 and the other pair is in cage number 6, slightly below it. I'm going to start with cage number 6 because this pair has done absolutely nothing. So, you know, we'll then move up to the pair above it and end with the good news, I suppose, or semi-good news. So this was a light green cinnamon that we paired to a opaline cinnamon sky blue hen. They looked compatible. Cockbird, you know, in the flight looked in good condition. Hen looked in good condition. But since we've had them in there, they've now been in there, I think it must be nearly 3 weeks, if not nearly a month. And hen has not even looked in the nurse box. They don't look at each other, they sit opposite the perches, showing absolutely no interest. So this pair are going to be split very, very shortly. I will just take the cockbird out, put them straight back in the flight, give the hen a day or two. She's done nothing, so it's not like she'll really need a rest, and then she can go back into the flight as well, and maybe we'll try them again later on in the season. But however, the pair above them, this was the a dark green hen, you may remember, was my best hen when I did the assessment earlier on in the year. Quite a heavily feathered hen bird, and we put her to a cinnamon sky blue, lightly feathered cinnamon sky blue cockbird. And what we were saying, I think, you know, when we put them down, was that he was hopefully going to try and get a slightly intermediate feather on them, and by having a cockbird that was fairly finely feathered, there was a better chance of some compatibility with the hen. I did say I was worried because these heavily feathered hens in the past have been, I found, quite difficult to breed with. However, she immediately cleared the nest box out, went straight in there. He was, you know, constantly feeding her. All the signs were really, really good. But then there was a long period, I think almost 2 weeks after she had cleared the nest box, where she was sitting in there and there were no eggs appearing. I was beginning to get a little bit worried. However, good news is she's now started laying and she's on her third egg. I think the first egg looks clear, the first egg looks clear, but I'm not sure about the last two. I haven't checked any of them yet, and I will be doing that over the next couple of days. So fingers crossed here, touch wood here, that we might get something off this pair, and if we do, I'll be really, really pleased, because I was quite looking forward to seeing what this pair might produce. So that's where we are with the two pairs that are still down. I now need to find a couple of pairs to go in the other two, or the three breeding cages. Three rather than three breeding cages. So we'll get some birds out and we'll take a look at the new pairs that I'm putting down. So this is the first of the new pairs that we're going to be putting down, and we've got the I think most of you will recognise the cinnamon grey green on the right, that cockbird. I think I posted it a little while ago on the Facebook page that we needed to find him a partner. He's been very active in the flight. You may also know, those of you that watch the channel for a little while, that we've tried him with a number of hens, and as so far we have not produced anything, but I do like him, and I really do want to try him with, get something off of this bird. It's from the grey family. The hen we're going to put him with is a sister to the hen that we put into the cage number 3, the one we spoke about, who is heavily feathered. This bird has a nice broad shoulder, top end, nice mask, but if anything is a little bit short and has a bit of a hunchback on her. So came out quite close to the top though, the hen, when I did my assessment. So like I say, very broad bird, got a bit of bulk on her as well, so hopefully we'll get some nice chicks off of this pair. As always, let me know your thoughts. She is very stressed at the moment, I would say, having just got her out of the flight, and it took a little bit of doing, trying to work through all of the dark green hens that we have in there, and quite a few dark green hens that look like light green hens. The youngsters are now getting all upset because I've been chasing birds around. Anyway, get a better view of her there, hopefully, of her face. So he does look very nice though. So between them, I'm hoping we'll get some nice chicks. Anyway, that's the pair that's going in to cage number 4, and we'll now have a look at the new pair for cage number 5. And so on to the last of the pairs we're going to look at in this episode. And we've got a opaline cinnamon cobalt cockbird. This is off of the Yellowface family. It came reasonably high, and I've matched him to, I'll see if I can get him to stand a little bit better. We've matched him to another of the blue family hens that we may remember we got. See if I can get him to cross over again. There you go. Okay, he's standing a bit better now. So yeah, we're putting him to this hen on the left, who is a light green, normal light green. She is just coming into condition, and again quite a wide bulky bird, nice big broad face on her, and whereas he's a much more stylish type of bird with a very long mask. They both got quite long masks. As I say, he came out reasonably top, and so did she. So we've got Yellowface family crossed to the blue family light green hen. I'm hoping these two birds will go down and be compatible. We'll see what we get off them. These, like the last pair we looked at, I didn't mention it when we looked at them, are quite distantly related. So it's a great grandparents. So is where the relationship is. So nothing, not very close at all. Right, well that's the last pair we'll look at. We'll pop this pair into cage number 5 and see if we have any luck with these. Well, I've popped those two pairs into their breeding cages, so all we've got to do now is, fingers crossed, that we'll get something decent off them. As always, if you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button. Not yet a subscriber, do of course subscribe. Most importantly though, do stay safe and enjoy your birds.